Done. Welcome to Max's Models. I'm Max. Well, hello everybody, and great news. I got the PBY fixed, so that's back on the shelf for the time being. And I also got out to the Tarbis today and finished off the B-25J, which was a little closer to being done than I realized. Got the decals, the rest of the decals on it. I was waiting to put the waist decals on because it's getting hard to find a place to pick it up. And got the engines put together, the props, and got all those on. But the guns were really tricky because the receivers, even the most minor misalignment of one of the receivers, and the barrels are sticking wildly off in different directions. So keeping everything straight and aligned was tricky, and some things moved after moving the model around and fitting parts in. So that's probably going to be one of the single biggest challenges of this kit. I more or less got them sort of aligned, but it's not. And I had a feeling when I was putting these things in, I wasn't quite sure how well that was all going to work. Anyway, I did get them in and I finished the weathering on it, and most of that was done with a cotton swab and touching up various shades of paint, and of course the Tamiya pastels. The weathering kits from Tamiya. And got the wingtip lights in and the letters on it and all the antennas, which are surprisingly tricky. There's really, I got so much paint on, I couldn't find any alignment holes. I just had to go off where they were supposed to be. And the antenna on the cowling was the one that just didn't want to stay put. But, or excuse me, on the nose. I balanced one of the doors open. I'll find a better device to hold it open with, because I did see they did have actual braces in the real photos I saw. And I don't have the ammo trays for it, but that's okay. I left a couple of panels off one of the cowlings so you could see the engine. And of course, all the doors are open. It does sit on its nose naturally. The real trick behind this thing, the flaps were a little hard to get to lock down. But it's not that they're hard to fit. They go right into place, but just getting a little glue on there will hold their position was a little tricky. They have these little actuators that help get everything lined up, but I got everything on there. And now the problem is, once the airplane's done, is finding a place to pick it up where you won't knock something off. You've got gun barrels bristling out everywhere. Of course, you got the props and all those tiny little antennas, so you don't want to get your hands anywhere near the fuselage. So pretty much grabbing it outboard of the engine nacelles and the prop arc, but be careful of the pitot tube. So it's hard to move around. But I took it outside just before I finished to get a couple of insurance photos while it was going to rain, so I brought it inside. And it's up on the shelf, and I'm going to let everything harden for a day or two, and trimming out the decals with the doors open and the gun bay doors open. And I might add, they fit fine open. They're designed to be splayed open. If you're going to close them, you're going to do a little trimming on it. You've got to be very careful how you put that interior piece on there, because it very easily can block your access to, if you're going to pose it with the nose all closed up, you don't even need those internal parts, and I would leave them off. But it also got to the point it was hard just to move this thing around because it's so big without knocking stuff over. And but now that it's done, I really like it. I mean, I know where all the flaws are. I found a few places that need to be puttied up, but I'm so afraid to touch it now that I'm like, the world will never know. I'll leave a few seams. The kit is an amazing kit. For the most part, everything fits very well. You are going to have to fit some stuff, and there are going to be aggravations, obviously. The detail level is very good. Some of the exhaust pipes and things got instructions are exactly how am I supposed to put this in here. I mean, it shows where it goes, but not how it lays down. And so we have that. And by the way, just as a side, I completely reloaded and switching to something different for a moment. I completely removed and reloaded my editing software, and it still had the exact same problem. So I've got an open ticket with the people at Corel at Pinnacle to see if they can help me get it working normally. So I'm using some free download stuff that's really tricky to use. I'm having trouble getting juiced it as anything. my old stuff did, so this is not going to be nearly as polished as, if you want to use the word polished, as my other videos. But, uh, and then in other news, I got to work on the Helldiver, getting all the parts photographed and everything to do a video about building that. And that, you know what, I'll just show you that, what I did earlier today, and then we'll go from there. Okay, today we're going to look at the WingTech Cyber Hobby, which I believe means dragon, SB2C-3 Helldiver in 1/72nd scale. And although I think this kit seems to be a little bit overboxed, don't really think you need a box quite that big. It is very lovely box art, and it's a fine kit, as we're going to see. And our first runner tree, we have the wings, and the moldings look good. They do have the same, I guess I'll use issue that I have with all the Cyber Hobby kits, and that is that the injection gates are often right on the mating surfaces, so you got to make sure that you sand all of those down. But they look good. I don't, and if they're like the valve that I just built by Cyber Hobby, which again I believe is Dragon, then they will probably fit without any problem. Get in there. I found this piece randomly in the bag. I don't know if it broke off the runner tree, but it's the cowling. And again, looks good. This is cowl flaps open. Now, in the case of the valve, I had the option of cowl flaps open or cowl flaps closed. We'll see as we go through the parts if that same option is available here. Here are the fuselage halves. And again, I see the instrument panel, internal armor plate, bomb bay doors. It all looks about on par with the valve. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I believe the Helldiver is a somewhat bigger airplane than the valve. At least it's heavier anyway. But it has an internal bomb bay, which is a nice thing. All the later dive bombers went that way, even the Japanese ones like the Judys. The irony is that despite advances in dive bombing techniques, the older dive bombers like the Stuka and the Val, which were fixed gear, spatted wheeled airplanes, actually, although they weren't as fast and didn't carry as much firepower, and often didn't have quite as much range, they were still much better handling airplanes and were far better beloved by their pilots. Although I don't think any dive bomber was ever quite as successful as the trusty dusty old SPD Dauntless. It was kind of a hybrid between the two in that it had a retractable landing gear but an exposed bomb with a trapeze. Of course, all of them had trapezes on them. And right after World War II, dive bombing essentially just evaporated, although the Sky Raider could still do it. All the military services just started moving away from the dive bombing technique. One could argue, though, that the follow-on to these aircraft are actually the F-18 and the F-16, which technically not dive bombers. They often do bomb from somewhat of a dive. Of course, modern-day smart weapons have made a lot of that unnecessary, but I digress. Then again, dumb bombs are cheaper. Next up, we have the flaps and some small accoutrements, which may be flap hinges, and the propeller. And we also have some photo etch. I believe, I'll check, but I think this photo etch is actually supposed to be the top of the wing over the flaps. But, and of course we got some harnesses also. So I'll check the instruction sheet and see what it says. All right, we have another pouch. Let's see what's in this one. All right, one runner tree is the wheels, gear doors, and the internal wing area where the wing fold mechanism would be. Looks like, I'm guessing offhand, that these are options between wings extended and wings folded. The moldings are really nice, especially 1/72nd scale. But the kit does give you a good amount of detail. Parts. And of course we have the clear parts. And this looks like it's designed with only, unlike the Val, which had the one-piece greenhouse or the sliding canopies, this looks like it's all just sliding canopy types. They're all separate pieces. We also have the mask to go with it, which, as we learn on the valve, makes life a lot easier. And then we have the instruction sheet. Nope, it looks like cowl flaps open is the only way to do this one. I'm not seeing a cowl flaps closed option. So, all right, cool. The parts in blue are not used. Yep, there's a bunch of teeny tiny microscopic little parts I'm going to have to get to and somehow clean up. Okay, you get 1.5 set of gear doors. The inner gear doors are the same for either way, but you have one set of the lower gear doors for taxiing and one for if you want it retracted in flight. And the difference appears to be these two little pegs that allow you to plug it into the upper gear door. Whereas if you're going retracted, you don't need that. Nice touch. You know, I think I just might do this with the assembly cranked down like that just to do something different. Of course, that means I'll have to be very careful with the detail on the interior because it'll all be where you can see it. This assembly is what is that the radio operator gunner cranks down out of the way so that he can free up his twin 30 calibers. Okay, guys, that's it. You take care of yourselves, and as always, model on.